students, welcome to next class. So today we'll learn regarding the optical properties, so which is the last concept of your unit 4. Okay, so there is luminescence and phosphors. So in luminescence, already we have done in previous videos regarding the phosphorescence. Okay, so these two things we have learned, okay, in excitation emission process in the previous video. So today we'll learn regarding the phosphors, and some concepts will come in this, that is Stokes, anti-Stokes, okay, anti-Stokes and Rayleigh lines. Okay, so what is this Stokes is it is a phenomena where if a photon strikes, okay, if a photon strikes an atom or molecule in liquid, okay, if it strikes an atom or molecule in liquid, a part of the incident photon, okay, may be used to excite the atom, okay, of the liquid, and rest is scattered. Okay, understand this. So what is the Stokes line here? When a photon strikes an atom or a molecule in a liquid, a part of the incident light photon which is hitting here, okay, so incident light, the h nu, the part of this may be used to excite the atom of the liquid, okay, and the rest of them will be scattered, okay. So that is a phenomena. So if you see here, I will draw here. So if this is the vibrations levels, ground level, so 0 1 2 3 here, and this is your imaginary top level, that is your virtual level, okay. And if there is incident light h nu here, and the excitation will be like this, okay, from nu 0 to the virtual level here, and while coming back, if it comes here to the nu 1 level and emitted light here h nu, okay. So this is a process of your Stokes line. Okay, so you can see here it is exciting from the nu 0 here to the virtual level here of the excited state, and while coming back it is coming here short, okay, at nu 1. Okay, this is what. And if you see the Stokes what do you say, the graphical present, it comes in something like that. Okay, so this is how the Stokes line will be represented here, where this nu naught minus nu of vibration, okay, nu naught minus nu of the vibration. So this is how, okay, it is given by the Stokes line, nu naught minus nu of the vibrations. Okay, so here this is what. Now if you see the anti-Stokes here, you can see here, if you see the anti-Stokes here, same thing I will draw here, 1 2 3 4 0 1 2 3, and this is a line, virtual excited line. Now if there is a excitation here by h nu, and if the excited molecule is from nu 1 to the virtual line here, and while coming down it goes to 0 here, see here, larger wavelength here, you can see here, okay, and emits some the radiations here. So here what will happen now here, if we put the graph here, so it comes like in stringed like this, okay. Here it is big line will come, here it is small line will come, okay. So here that is nu naught plus nu of vibration, addition will be there here, okay. So this is this process we call it as a anti-Stokes. Okay. So what happens in this anti-Stokes here? Now here you see here frequency, you can see here, if you see the spectral line here, okay. So if I will write here, if you see the spectral line, okay, if you see the spectral line will have the low frequency here, in Stokes line, you can see here, so it's having the low frequency, okay, in Stokes line, and it's called Stokes line here. and always the del nu will be always positive here. Okay, in Stokes line the del nu whatever frequency will be there will be positive here. But anti-Stokes, what is this anti-Stokes? You see here in anti-Stokes, if you see, if a photon strikes here also, if a photon strikes, okay, an atom in an atom in a liquid, so what will happen, it goes to the excited state similarly as we have discussed now at excited state, and the scattered photons and the scattered photon gains energy here, gains energy. Okay, the scattered photon gains energy, and the spectral line will have high here. The spectral line, what will have, it will have high, the spectral line will have high energy, and it is called as anti-Stokes, and here del nu will be always negative. The del nu value will be always negative. So this is what about the anti-Stokes and Stokes here. And one more it comes, that is your Rayleigh's. Raman's, all this in Raman spectroscopy we learn this Rayleigh's line. Okay, so what is this Rayleigh's line? Again I will draw it here. See the difference, 1 2 3 4, and this is a virtual line here, excited state. Here also say 1 2 3 nu 0. Here what happens, from when it is been incident light here, so from 0 to it goes to the virtual line, and while coming back again from here to 0 it comes here like this. So this is the difference between the Stokes, anti-Stokes and Rayleigh's line. Okay, and if you see the graphical presentation, so it is something like that, like this it comes. Okay, so this is your nu naught, nu of 0. Okay, so this is how you have to see, and this is emitted h nu, okay, emission light. So like this is a Rayleigh's line. In some cases, so where this happens, in some cases what happens here, in some cases when a light of photon strikes the atoms or molecules, okay, so what happens, the photon may scatter elastically. Here what happens, the photon scatter elastically. This is important, elastically. See here, the photon may scatter elastically, and here the photon, what happens, photon, so here what happens, photon neither gain or lose energy. This is important. See here, so it is not neither gaining, it is neither gain or lose energy. Okay, this is important, neither gain or lose energy, and the spectral line will have unmodified frequency like this. Okay, so they have unmodified frequency. Okay, the spectral line will have unmodified frequency, and if you consider this nu naught, okay, if nu naught is a frequency of incident light, this one nu naught, and nu s frequency of scattered light, so nu s is a frequency of the scattered radiation of a given molecular sample, then as per the Raman shift or Raman frequency, as per the Raman frequency or shift, okay, so del nu in this case is given by nu naught minus nu s. Okay, so either del nu is equal to delta nu is equal to del nu naught minus nu s. So this is how Rayleigh's line. Okay, so that is what I think you have learned regarding the Stokes line, anti-Stokes line, and the what you say, anti-Stokes, Stokes, and the Raman's Rayleigh's line. Okay, so this was important for this, to understand this, as in the syllabus you have to know about the Stokes, anti-Stokes. That is what with this we have shown it here. Okay, and if you see the Raman shift, they usually they do not depend on the frequency of the. So if you see here, whatever now we have learned, this Raman shift, okay, say they do not depend on, don't okay, depend on incident light, okay, so they don't depend on the incident light. Okay, but it is a characteristic of a substance, producing Raman effect, this thing you have to keep in the mind. Okay, the Raman shift does not depend on the incident light, but it is a substance's character, but it is the characteristic of a substance producing Raman effect. This is important. Okay, now next we'll learn about inorganic phosphor. What is this inorganic phosphorus? Okay, to produce light, if you want to produce light, if you want to produce light, luminescent material is required. Luminescent material, that itself is called as your phosphor. Luminescent metal is called as your phosphor. Okay, so this is very much important. Okay, we require this, okay, which absorb the energy from the external source. Okay, so this will absorb energy from external source, this is important. Okay, and depending on the absorption of energy, they are classified into photoluminescence. Photoluminescence already we have seen, so where the light is absorbed here, so energy is absorbed from the light. Then electroluminescence where the energy is absorbed here by electric current. Okay, this is what. Then cathode luminescence will be there. Then cathode luminescence where the absorption will be from the electron beam, beam. Then there is a chemiluminescence, you know that chemiluminescence. So your energy is absorbed from the chemical reaction, then bioluminescence, that is your insects, biological insects and all, which glow in the night, so that is a bioluminescence. Here also chemical reaction takes place in the body. Okay, then this is how. Okay, so these are some of the inorganic phosphorus role is. Okay, and this phosphorus exhibit luminescence. Okay, they emit light when exposed to the radiation. So they emit light. Okay, when exposed okay, to radiations. Okay, so when you expose this to radiation, so they emit the light. This is important here. Okay, as UV or electron beam. So if you keep in the ultraviolet light or electron beam like this, okay, then they start glowing. Okay, once you remove that, so that's what the phosphorus work is. Okay, and that's why they are used in most of the display applications. For this reason they are used in display applications. Okay, like LCDs, you can see TVs and all, they are using cathode ray tubes, CRTs, we call it as cathode ray tubes. These all use phosphors are used. Okay, then X-ray detectors, they are using LEDs, LCDs, LEDs, like this. Okay, so and etc. So these all things they are, you can see the phosphors are using. Okay, and if you see an inorganic phosphorus, okay, it is a material which converts the absorbed energy, okay, to electromagnetic radiation. This is important. Inorganic phosphorus, okay, they absorb the energy and they convert to electromagnetic radiations. Okay, beyond the thermal equilibrium. Beyond the thermal equilibrium. The best example is zinc sulfide. Okay, this is a natural phosphor. So if you see zinc sulfide, so it is white powder in the lab. I think you have seen here. Okay, zinc sulfide, it's a white powder here. Now if you put this zinc sulfide under UV light here, okay, under UV light if you put here for some time, okay, what will happen now? So this becomes blue in color, and when you remove this UV light, okay, what you see, this like this, you will not see the glass here, beaker, only you will see blue powder like this. So nice, you will not see this glass, like this only it will see direct powder. So this is how it glows. Okay, that's why this zinc sulfide we call it as a natural phosphorus. Okay, you take this, actually they are white in powder, zinc sulfide, you see in the lab, you take it in the beaker, close this in a UV light here. After UV light you close, this all becomes blue in color, you see it's blue in color. Then remove the light here, blue UV light, and afterwards you see, just you can see here the blue color, this much part blue, it is glowing. You will not see even the glass. Okay, so like this is beautiful. So we can observe this experimentally, how the phosphor works. Okay, and if you see in how this works, now if you take this host material, this is a host material, how does this work? And these are the activators A. Okay, so like this is your host lattice. How does this work? Phosphor, this is a host lattice, and this is an activator. This is used. Okay, activator is used always. Okay, and when incident light hits here, so this is a excitation. So what will happen? This will emission. Okay, So upon excitation this by H nu, this activator goes to excited state, and while coming back it emit here, and some of the energy is wasted in the form of heat energy like this. Okay, so this is how it is been the what you say phosphor works here, and sometimes there is sensitizer also, okay, used here. And the work of this also is same thing. It will pass the energy to activator, and activator does this in some mode like this. Okay, so only thing is passing here activator like this. Okay? Energy will be same, so that way also it is been used, but main thing is what here, activator. Okay, and if you see here how does this work, so if you take this A here, activator, okay, and this is your excited activator, and this is your excited activator. Okay, so this is ground level, excited level. So here what happens here, it goes here, then it relaxes here sometime like this, and then it comes down here like this. Okay, and this is your, this part is your non-radiative transmission. Okay, and this is your radiative transmission. This is your radiative transmission, this is non-radiative transmission, this is absorption, goes up. Okay, and while committed, this is activators. Okay, so this is a ground state here, down conversion, this is called as down conversion. It goes here, and while coming it relaxes here sometime, and then it is coming down here. This is one case. One case I will put it here again. This is activator. Now here up I have taken, I will take it here now. This is your excitation here, and here I will take as usual double star. Okay, excitation here double, this will be going first, it excites here in this way like this, then it go from here to here like this, and directly it comes like this. Okay, now this is one case here like this. Okay, this is your radiative transmission, and this from here to here it is your non-radiative transmission. Okay, like this. So here it is H nu, emitted light. Okay, this way. Okay, emit H nu, emission light. So this is called up conversion. Up conversion. Okay, so this is down conversion, and this is up conversion. Okay, like this. So how does this work here? So usually the energy in the form of light here, so energy in the form of light here. Okay, so or light or electrons, beam or particles. Okay, the particles, what happens here, they absorb the light. Okay, and what happens, they re-emit with specific wavelength. Okay, while emit with a specific wavelength. Okay, this is what, and this wavelength depends on the structure of the phosphorus, main thing. Okay, whatever the wavelength is been given, that depends on the structure of the phosphorus. Okay, that's why there are different colors, blue, red, depending on the different wavelengths. If it is 369, you get blue colors like this. So it depends on that. Okay, 769, 860, like this. Different wavelength have different colors, and depends on the structure of the phosphorus. Okay, this is important. And the host cell of the crystal here, so here the host cell of the crystal here absorbs energy and transmits that energy to activators here. Okay, ions embedded in the crystal lattice, they transfer, and the energy passes into the electrons here. So activators have also have the electrons here, so energy passes to these electrons within this activator ion, and what happens, they move to high energy state level. Okay, and this move to high energy state level. Okay, upon relaxing back here, so like this you can see they go to higher energy level. Then what happens, upon relaxing back to low energy level here, so they relax back to low energy level, the electrons lose energy. Okay, as an emission of light here. Okay, as an emission of light, and the energy difference between the two levels. So this is how the energy difference can be got between the two levels. Okay, so this is how we can see the wavelength, whatever the wavelength we are going to get here, the wavelength corresponds, whatever is corresponds to the energy difference here. The wavelength corresponds to the energy difference between the two levels. Okay, so this is how you can see the activators work. Now if you see the structure of inorganic phosphors, okay, inorganic phosphors, so they are usually consist of host material. They consist mainly of host material, and they doped with a small amount of activators, small amount of, as I said now, activators. Okay, and the host material, whatever is there here, host material, so they could be oxides. Host material could be oxide, nitride, okay, or oxynitrides, silicates, okay. Then sulfides, then selenide, halides, selenide, halides, oxyhalides, like this. So they are all can be made as a host material. This all act as a host material, and they have the wide gap material. So they have the wide band gap usually. Okay, they have wide band gap materials. So this host cells. Okay, and activators can be the ions. Activators can be the ions. You can choose the ions as activators from the rare earth elements, or transition metal ions. Transition metal ions. So anything you can choose here which works as a activators here. Okay, and these activators, they convert light from the shorter wavelength. Okay, these activators, they convert light of short wavelength, okay, from the short wavelength to longer wavelength, to long wavelength. That is called your Stokes. That is called your Stokes shift. Okay, that which converts the shorter wavelength to the longer wave. Just now we have seen, that is called Stokes shift. Okay, and this happens via electronic transitions. Via electronic transitions. Okay, this is important here. And the activator ions, they act as luminescent centers. Okay, this also you can luminescent centers. Okay, so what happens, the activators whatever we are putting here, ions, they act as emissions or lumination center. Okay, and they possess energy levels. Okay, and they possess different energy levels. Okay, then there can be whatever the excitation from different this one by direct excitation or indirectly energy transfer. So these all things happens here. Yeah? So this is how about the structure here, and depending on this activators, ions what we are using, so they can be classified into two types. Okay, these activators, they can be classified into two types. So if you see the first type, this energy level of activators in here, the energy level of activators ion show weak interaction between host lattice or with the host lattice. This is the first type of activators ions, where the energy level of the activator ions show weak interaction with the host lattice. Okay, so for example, FF, this is what, okay, FF transitions, lanthanide ions emission. So your lanthanide ions emission, it relies on which transition? FF transition. It relies on FF transition. Okay, so this FF transition, what is the special here? So they have the low lying F orbitals. Is it right? So they are having low lying F orbitals. Okay, so these have the low lying F orbitals, which is well shielded, and give line emission spectra from the FF transition, sharp FF transition. So they give lines sharp FF transition, this one. Okay, type 1. And next one is type 2. So in type 2 level, there is a strong interaction now. So here what happens here, the activator ions have strong interaction with host lattice. See, this is difference. Okay, so there will be strong interaction with the host lattice. And some examples of type 2 will be Mn+2 transition elements, europium +2, then cerium +3 ions, like this. Okay, so these are going to act as the activators in some in type 2 here, where the d electrons are involved here. So here d electrons here, F electrons here, d electrons, lanthanides, and this is transition. D electrons are involved, and d orbitals have interaction with the crystalline host here, okay, lattice, and which lifts the what you say degeneracy. Okay, so it's lift the degeneracy. Okay, once it interact with the lattice host, it's lift the degeneracy and leads to distinct states, energy state. Okay, different energy states, giving rise to broadband. So here it gives a broadband. This is important. Okay, here you get the sharp FF transition, sharp, but here if you get the broad transition here. Okay, so you are going to be broad spectrum you are going to get, because the degeneracy is lifted here. So why degeneracy is lifted? Because the d orbitals have interaction with the crystalline host lattice, and with this interaction with the host lattice, there will be lift in the degeneracy. When lift will be there will be Jahn-Taylor distortion type, and that will lead to the distinct different energy states. Okay, and that will have the rise of the broadbands here. That will have the rise on the broadbands here. Okay, so this is how some examples you can see here: K, Mg, F3, europium here. Okay, so this having 359 nanometer like this. Okay, so if you see this, this is one type of phosphor. Okay, KMgF3. Okay, and doped with what? Europium. See here. Okay, so this is doped like this. This is your one type of FF transition type of like this. Okay, like this. So many are there. SR B4O7 again EU, BASO4.EU, 374 nanometer. Like different colors it will give. 374 nanometers here. Then it will be BAMGAL10. Okay, O17 EU. Like this is important activators doped with europium, and this will give you this will absorb emitted at 490 nanometer. And as it do like this, they are having different colors also. Okay, so red color, blue color, pink. So depending on the wavelength, you know that it will have the different colors. Okay, so this is how we have to see, and this happens because the energy levels are different. For example, ground state will be we will be, if it is S0, okay, single, then it will have the different like quadruplet P1/2, quadruplet I, quadruplet F, like this. So different energy will be there, creation will be there here. Okay, and while it falls down, excitation will happen, and while it falls down, you can see they emit some radiations like this. When they emit some radiations, so at particular wavelength they phosphor, that means they glow different colors. Okay, so that's why it depends on the structure of the phosphorus and its doped property, and this energy states, how it get absorbs, and different energy states created, then how the excitation takes place and how the emission takes place. It depends on all these categories, and with that particular technique, what you say, so you are seeing the different colors here. Okay, so this is how the phosphor conditions or this works here. Okay, now if you see the condition here, what is the condition for the phosphor here, good phosphor, I will write here condition. Okay, a good phosphor usually they should not should absorb the excitation energy and emit light afterwards. Okay, they should a good phosphor, the good phosphor should absorb excitation energy, excitation energy, and light emit light afterwards. This is important, and emit light afterwards as fast, okay, and efficiently as possible. Okay, this is important here. Okay, the good phosphor should have absorbed the excitation energy and emit light afterwards as fast and efficiently as possible. Okay, emit light afterwards as fast as efficiently as possible. This is a one condition for a good phosphor. Okay, and the second is elapsed time. If you see the elapsed time between excitation and emission. Okay, if you see the elapsed time between the excitation and emission here. Okay, they should be short. They should be short. Why they should be short? To avoid afterglow, to avoid the afterglow. This is second important here. Okay, and the absorbed energy can also be lost through you can see here, whatever the absorbed energy is there, they can be lost. Okay, as I said now, through radiation less decay, through radiation less decay, radiation less decay. Okay, thereby decreasing the quantum yield. Okay, so thereby decreasing the quantum yield. So this is how some of the points to we have to remember for a good phosphor here. And finally, if you see the application, so application you can see in decoration of toys it is used, phosphorus, watch dials. Okay, then you can see safety signals. In safety signals you can use this phosphorus. Then medical imaging. Okay, there also it is used. Then counterfeit detection, there also this is used, counterfeit detection. Okay, then sometimes light vision surveillance. light vision surveillance. Okay, then sometimes improvement of solar panel efficiency, like this, etc. Okay, so this is how some of the applications. So it is used in decoration and toys and watch dials and safety signals, medical imaging, counterfeit detection, light vision surveillance, improvement of solar panel efficiency. Okay, so this is how the most of this phosphorus inorganic is used here. Okay, because of this technique. Okay, hope I think this is more than sufficient in today's video. In the next video we will learn regarding the laser, and I think this will be the last where we are going to complete the 100% of our unit 4. Okay, and later on we will start with your multiple choice. Okay, multiple choice. I think on 26th your college starts. Okay, you are going to come to college, and once we come to the college, so directly we'll go for some of solving of your MCQs. Okay, that will not help you more, but this concept will help you more. Okay, understand this, don't go behind the MCQs. This will shorten your intelligence. Okay, MCQs, don't go behind this. If you are very good with the theoretical part, okay, then you can easily go for the MCQs, as well as you will have the large knowledge. That is important. Okay, but directly if you go behind this MCQs and ask teachers for MCQs, because you are having the examination for MCQs, and take hundreds of MCQs and work on that A B C D I A B, so that will not help you. Okay, so that's why first completion of 100% of the syllabus, take everything theoretically and everything, all knowledge from the syllabus, then same thing it will help you for the solving MCQs. Thank you.